Right, and hello everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join me. Today we're going to be planting potatoes. I'm hoping to take part in our local garden show at the end of July. So we'll be planting second earlies because they'll be ready in time for the show. In this one, I'll go through the pots I'm using, the fertilizer I'm using, the amounts, where I've chitted them and why I've chitted them, the compost I'm using, the mix I'm putting together, and at the end I'll show you why I've built this structure around the area that I'm going to plant them. All right, so let's get on with it. Right, so these are the potatoes I've got chitting. Now ideally they want to be in a cool sunny place out of direct sunlight, but I've only got the polytunnel to do it. So what I did is made up a little framework all around them and covered them with a bit of shade netting just to keep the direct sunlight off them. And all I've done is put them into these plastic egg carton trays, and I find they work really well and of course last forever. We got 4 varieties here. We got Kestrel, Maris Piper, Desiree and Marifoma. You might be thinking, well, they're mashed potatoes, Pete, you've cut them in half. Yeah, we've done that because, well, we don't need mashed potatoes, and by cutting them in half, obviously you've doubled the size. And all chitting is getting it to start to sprout. If you can see that one there, nice green solid chit on it. Now you don't have to chit, it just gives it, well, a little bit quicker growth, but you're only going to gain about a week or so if you're chitting. All right, so that's the potatoes, that's the ones we're going to sow. Right then, so here we go. The pots I'm using are these 30-litre pots from Oakland Gardens. They seem to be like the optimum size for growing potatoes, and there's a few discount codes floating around if you want to get a hold of some of these, and if I can find one, I'll link it in the description. They work really well and they'll last ages, really strong, great drainage in the bottom. And all I've done is I've put a little bit of well-rotted horse manure in the bottom. Then I'm just going to use some of this compost here. This is bulk compost that I get in from my local green waste company. I know some people say, oh, it's terrible and all the rest of it, and just grow up. No, it's not. It's fine, especially for potatoes. And the beauty about growing potatoes is it improves the compost. As the potatoes grow and the mycorrhizal and everything goes around the roots, and it just gets better around the roots. So once you finish with it, you can sieve it and use it for seedling compost next year, or just grow potatoes in it again. All right, so, and the beauty of bulk compost, I mean, all of this, 23 quid. I know, it's nuts, isn't it? And for beds or anything like that, it's perfectly fine. Chuck it in there, about a third full. Now, fertilizer wise, I'm using some fish blood and bone, and for this amount, this size pot is 150 litres, which is about 2 handfuls. But if you're not too sure to start with, because you know you get to know weights as you gain experience, just get a scale, weigh some, and get an eye in for the volume. Simple. Yeah, that's what I did when I first started. Well, I still do. So some fish blood and bone. I was hoping to use the Elixir Spuds Galore, but unfortunately my delivery is lost in the world of white van man somewhere. So I'm just using some organic vegetable fertilizer, you know, so chuck that in. We'll also be feeding them as they grow as well. Mix all that together in the bottom, As the roots grow down, they'll find that, and that'll help them grow away. Just a little bit more on top of that. And then I think the optimum amount of potatoes in one of these buckets is 4, but because we're growing them for show, I'm trying to get slightly more bigger, even potatoes. So I'm only going to put in 2. That's what I did last year, and we had some great results last year, so I'm doing the same again. Put them in with the chits looking up, just like that. And cover again, just gently to start with. You don't want to, those chits you took ages to form, you don't really want to be breaking them off. So just dribble the compost over them to start with until they're settled in. And then chuck it in. Like I say, normally I'll be stood up with this and it's way quicker, especially with a long handled Cornish shovel, of course. And I'm filling this right up. I haven't found the need to put a bit in and wait for it to grow and then put more compost around. Just fill it up. I fill it up to about 1 inch from the top. That way, if right near the end of the growing you do start to see some potatoes bulge out the top, you've still got 1 inch. You can put a bit more compost around them, and these will go up to where they're all going to be put, and they'll be watered once I get them up there, because obviously this is a lot lighter now than if I'd filled it with water. We'll also be putting a mulch over the top of them to help the water to stay there, and I'm just going to be using wood chippings, you know, the wood chip. Yeah, that worked perfectly well for me last year. I know some people say, well, it'll steal all the nitrogen out of the compost. It'll be fine, resting on top, all right? And we're feeding them nitrogen anyway, so don't worry about it. So that's them all potted up. I'll finish up, and then we'll go up to where they're going to be put, and I'll explain what that wooden structure is all about. Right, so here they are in their final resting place, as it were, and they're just nestled in on top of this. Well, it's a bit of ground I'm trying to improve over time. So this has had a lot of horse manure and compost worked into it, and they've got a few wood chips on top, and they're just nestled in on top of that. Now, I said I'll explain this wooden structure on top. Here I get a lot of wind, and it was something I saw from Tony O'Neill. So what we've done is put the posts down the sides, bars across the top, and I've got some of this, well, it's agricultural mesh they use for fencing. And what we'll do when the time comes, you know, once they grow up a bit, we'll stretch that along the top, and then as the potatoes grow, they grow up through it, and growing through the squares of the mesh, it helps to hold them all together and protect from wind damage. All right, so that's them. They've had a good watering, and they've had the mulch of wood chip on top. When I say good watering, each one of these has had, well, 5 litres of water. They really have, because, you know, we're using neat compost, and that's going to dry out quicker than if you just used, you know, compost and soil. So later on in the season, in a month or so, once these are up, I will be fitting a irrigation system. Now, I've not done that before, so it'll be interesting to see how that works, but I'll go through how I'm going to do it. We won't be using it off the tap. we'll be using it off rainwater and using a Bosch pump to power it all and pump it all through. All right, so if that's of interest to you, come back and see me, and come back and see how we get on at the garden show. Right, that's the spuds in. Thanks for watching. Cheers and go on.